outside. Okay, so now it says that we're live on YouTube. So let me just check, make sure the audio is okay. You can say some words too.
Checking in, checking.
He's checking in and checking. Okay, so now it says that we're live on YouTube. So let me just check, make sure the audio is okay. You can say some words too.
Check.
That sounds good. All right.
Sweet.
That part is good. And now we can just go to Audacity, where I can record the show. All right. Intro music. You know what? I don't want to do that. I want to give it an intro before that, which is good because it didn't record anything. All right. On this episode of Bantha Milk Podcast, Ryan, not Nick, and I talk all about Andor Episode 8. And believe you me, you want to have your shoes on for this one. Intro music.
Wait, that's not it.
What? He's no good to me, Dad.
Intro music. Intro music.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Yes, it is. Ryan's back. Everybody say hi to Ryan.
Hi, guys.
Ryan. Yay. All right, so Ryan is here. I am here. Nick is still doing daddy duty. He'll be here one of these days. He promises.
Oh, that daddy duty. It'll get you.
It'll get you. It'll get you. All right. And Ryan, I think one of these days, is your little fella sleeping right now, or is he wide awake?
When I left him, he was sleeping.
Okay. Well, if he's ever wide awake when we're doing a show, feel free to bring him in and bounce him around on your leg a little bit and be like, look, you're on TV.
Sounds good.
I would do that, but mine's away at college, and he wouldn't appreciate it very much anymore anyway. So at least your little guy will enjoy it.
Yep.
So Ryan is here. I am Rob, and we are back with another episode of Bantha Milk Podcast here on the Ears Up Network. You know, I feel like we're the only ones that plug all the shows on a consistent basis and plug them in the beginning of the show when people actually listen. The Taco Supreme guys, they wait till the very end if they remember to, and they're like, oh, yeah, don't forget to check out the other shows. And I don't blame them. I would do the same thing. They list all of their shows first, and then they go, oh, and those Star Wars guys, whatever they are.
And they make up the majority of the network right now. So.
They do. I know. Eric is like 4/6 of the network right now. He's like, that would be 2/3 for those of you good at math. But yeah, he's on like every single show, so they sure do take up most of the network. But good for him. I think they're renaming it the Eric Up Network.
I don't think I could do it. That's so much time.
Yeah, and it's not even like his real job. His real job is being a very important professional too.
He's out being a scientician in his off time.
In his off time, when, the one that actually pays him all his money. He has like 12 jobs. He's impressive. I give him lots of credit. So Ears Up is our parent show. They're the ones that get the most listeners. So Ears with a Z, Ears Up. They talk about Disney stuff. Those other guys that I talked about, Taco Supreme Resort, they do rundown of show versus show, park versus park. I like their last episode. It was pretty funny. Dan found all these like clickbaity articles, and they had to try and figure out what they were, like top 5 secrets that you don't know in Disney World. And the one that you thought it was going to be, which was the basketball net in the Matterhorn, wasn't even one of them. So it was pretty funny. They were like tearing it apart. They're like, "Come on, this is the exact opposite of what we came up with on our show." But anyway, so those guys, Ears Up in Depth, where they do Star Wars, where they do Disney news.
They did Star Wars news last night.
Did they? I listened to it on.
We'll probably talk about it in Star Wars news, but yeah.
Okay. Well, if I don't hit it, then you hit it because I want to know what they had to say. And then what's the other one? The Scraping the Vault. Yeah, that's a fun one. I like that one. And then there's us, Bantha Milk Podcast. You can check us out on Facebook at Bantha Milk Podcast. email us at bantham.milkpodcast@gmail.com. If you want Bantham Milk stickers, we have them. You can send us an email, and I'll mail them out to you.
I got to get you my address.
Yes, I have to send you some. I was thinking, the co-host should have some stickers. So, yes, I have to get some to Ryan. He's going to plaster them all over Colorado. And, swag. We have swag on our website, banthammilkpodcast.com. I'm wearing one of the shirts underneath my Phillies. It's not the official Phillies jersey. It's, I don't know. It's like a blocky Phillies, but they're in the World Series, baby. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
This is...
I hope you beat the Astros because, man, I hate the Astros as a Dodgers fan.
And as a Dodgers fan, and, I mean, the Astros, I don't know how they get away with it. Like, they got caught in the worst cheating scandal in the last 50 years, and people are like, that's cool. Like, if it was the Yankees or the Dodgers or something like that, it would have just been like, everybody, they would have been hating them for months. Like, people would be egging their houses and all this stuff, like, whatever. Like, they look for reasons to hate the teams that always win. And when the Astros get caught winning the World Series, no less cheating, like, everybody thought, like, every pitcher was going to be thrown at the batters. And there wasn't one. Like, they were just like, don't do it. Okay. So
I saw this week Gritty was at the game with a trash can that had the Astros logo on it.
Nice. Yeah, Gritty is awesome. Gritty is, for those of you that don't know, Gritty is the Flyers mascot, and he is the biggest, scariest looking thing ever. He's this giant orange Muppet, but it's like
it's a terrifying Muppet.
Yeah. Is his name? The original giant Muppet from the Muppet Show is like Schmoopies or Snookums. Snookums.
Snookums.
He's kind of like Snookums in a way that he's just a monster and like scary but lovable at the same time. And that's the way Gritty is. Gritty's the same way. So yeah, he's definitely a keeper for us. That's for sure. So that's enough baseball stuff. You didn't come to listen to us talk about baseball. Oh, one other thing, Freestyle Watches. I became an ambassador for Freestyle Watches. I just bought a watch band, and they asked me to be in it. They didn't even ask me. They just sent out this like generic generic email, like, "Hey, be an ambassador." So I was like, "Sure." So I'm an ambassador. If you, it'll have it in our show notes. If you like Freestyle watches, they're the Shark watches. I don't know if they were big in Colorado or not. But when I was a kid, we had them, and they were like, whatever. There's not big fancy ones that like they have now. But what they do have is you can get the Shark bands, the Freestyle bands, for an Apple Watch as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so like you can be nostalgic and an Apple Watch all at the same time. So that's what I wound up getting. So I'll have a link in our show notes, and if you put in, I think it's like Bantham Milk 10 as the code when you go to buy your Freestyle watch or watch band, you get 10% off. So go ahead and check it out. That being, sorry, I told Ryan to stop me because I talk way too much, and so now he's.
Before we move on past promos,
yes.
If you subscribe to the Patreon for Ears Up, you get to see more of my face.
Yes.
Because I'm on The Walkabout, which is a Patreon-only show where we dive into the depths of YouTube.
There you go.
It's not regular enough for me to say when it's going to be. I'm pretty sure we're doing it tomorrow night.
Okay.
But yeah, if you get on the Ears Up Patreon, you get to see more of my face.
So Ears Up Patreon, that's Ears with a Z, Ears Up podcast on Patreon, and then I think that is that at the $5 level. I think.
I believe so. I believe access to watches is at the $5.
So at the $5 level, you subscribe to be a $5 level supporter, and then you can see Ryan's real show, The Walkabout. He started that one.
I created it.
So check that out on Patreon only. That's a bonus show. While we're doing that, last bit of promos, let's open up some Bantham Milk because I have my 21A Coaster Pills right here, which I love it. And I actually look forward to the shows now so that I can drink some Coaster Pills and kind of like rub it in Jason's face that I have some and he can't. What are you drinking? Anything special tonight?
Not super special. I went with a Topo Chico hard seltzer. It's the tangy lemon lime. It mostly just tastes like Sprite.
Okay, with a little bit of a kick.
Yeah, I wanted to try and find something that I could put like gummy worms in because of the episode, but I couldn't. I couldn't think of anything.
That would have been awesome. I didn't even think of that. That's so funny. Yeah, with the worms, and then it was weird when they put it into the liquid, they just like exploded basically. Like, did
Yeah.
you notice that? So that would have been pretty cool. Yeah, that's great of you to think of that. I didn't even think of that. Darn it, that would have been awesome. So we'll have to do like at the end of the season, a drink with gummy worms in it. So all of you listeners out there, if you can think of some kind of a drink that we can make with gummy worms in it, so that we can represent the slug snails. I forget what they called them.
It's in my notes.
Yeah. All right. When we get there, we'll get
we'll
to it.
talk about it.
Yeah.
There we go.
So that is all the promos and all that good stuff. So now let's get into. Yeah, my chair completely fell apart now. The whole back just fell off.
Now you're gonna have to make the one from the Naboo fighter.
I know, right? I was thinking about that. All right, there it goes. It's down. Chair down. Oh, man.
Now you're just sitting on a stool.
I am. Oh, and it broke and everything. Darn it, I'm so very disappointed. Yeah, my chair that I built specifically to duplicate the chair in the Razor Crest. I made it out of MDF, which is like medium density fiberboard. It's like a thick, heavy wood, but it's super smooth. And because it was so heavy, after 2 years, so I will give it that. After 2 years, it did finally fall apart. So I'll have to. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing this weekend.
There you go.
Ryan, if you want to come over, you can help me rebuild a chair.
That's a bit of a trip.
It's a little bit too much of a commute from Colorado. Yeah, I understand. All right, let's get into the news, shall we?
Absolutely.
Star Wars news.
Star Wars news. There we go. So I don't know if this is what they talked about on the show or not, but the Star Cruiser. Have you heard about this? Not sold out.
I did not.
Yeah,
No.
they were talking about it on In Depth months ago, but I was reading another article today where they're talking about it. For the rest of the year right now, the only 2 weeks that it's sold out are the last 2 weeks in December. So you can go anytime now, November, all the way through until the last 2 weeks of December, the only 2 weeks that it's sold out. And as of the time the article was written, all the way through until August of next year, there's 2 days. May 17th and 18th are booked. So you can't go May 17th and 18th. Those 2 days are completely filled. Now, the only thing to this article that is very, I don't want to say it's a false article, but it just says whether you can buy tickets or not. It doesn't tell you how many rooms are available. So
and that's the catch, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I think a lot of people have talked about that, is like, this is a 100-room hotel.
Right.
If 90 of them are sold out, that's a 90% occupancy rate.
Mm-hmm.
That's, for most hotels, especially high-end hotels, that's a great occupancy
Yeah.
rate.
Yeah, 100%.
You don't necessarily always, I mean, I'm sure Disney would love to be sold out every time.
Right.
But, it's not always going to be. I actually listened to another podcast that's not on the network. I know.
How dare you? Oh, my goodness.
How dare I? I'm a traitor. But they're actually, it's like a big Disney parks. I forget I can't even think of the name of it right now. But it's kind of one of the big name ones. And they're doing a trip where they have, I think they've worked out a deal with Disney because they know exactly how many of the cabins on the Star Cruiser are booked for their weekend.
Oh, okay.
And they said it's all but like 6.
Okay.
So there's at least one weekend out there
Right.
that all but 6 are booked.
All but 6 are booked, yeah. And that's the thing, like, you can go to the website and you can book any one of those dates, but you could be the last room, or like you said, there could be 90 out of the 100 rooms could be booked. So it's a little deceiving, and people like to make it seem worse than it is. If it is only 20% booked, then it's an issue. But if it's still 90% booked, Disney's not changing anything. They're not going to... And it's outrageously priced. It's expensive. Would I do it? Me? Yes. If I went with a friend who was super hardcore into Star Wars as well, if Ryan and I went, or Nick and I went, or, my wife wouldn't get anything out of it, especially not for the price. But if I was going with somebody else who was really hardcore into it as well, it would be worth it to cosplay for 2 straight days as a Star Wars character. But for my family of 4, it wouldn't be worth it because 2 of my family of 4 would be like, all right, we're going up to the cabin, we're going to take a nap. And I'm like, you don't understand how much that nap is costing us right now, you know?
And that's why you need to go to the Years Up Patreon to send Rob and Ryan to the.
That's right.
Star
Sign up for
Cruiser.
Patreon, and then they'll send us on the trip, and we'll tell you all about it. So I have that. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. Have you played this game?
I played some of it, yeah.
Okay. So it's funny. My son bought it for us the day it came out on his Switch, and I haven't played it once. And I've played all the other Lego movies, games, every single one of them. Jurassic Park, Star Wars, Batman, Marvel, all of them. All 3 different versions of the Star Wars games leading up to this one. I played every single one. And this one, I couldn't wait to play it. I was like, you have to get it. You have to get it. He got it. I was like, whatever. I don't know why, but whatever.
Isn't that how life happens?
It's so weird. But they have an expansion pack coming out where you can add 30 new characters into the saga. Cassian Andor will be there. Reva will be there. And Captain Rex, to name a few of the 30. Now, they did release a trailer which had like all of them in it, and I'm pretty sure Thrawn's in it as well, which is the only reason that I would get it would just be for Thrawn because I think he's so much fun. But yeah, so if you play it and you're still enjoying playing it with all the different characters and stuff, and you haven't completed every single gotten every single red brick and every single 10x, 20x, 30x, 50x, all those, then you can now do it with 30 new characters as well.
Nice. That's awesome.
There's a new Mandalorian comic book. We talked before about comics and how we both kind of like them, but never fully got into them. You have boxes of them, right? Don't you, or no?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you have boxes
and boxes.
Yeah, because your friend owns a comic book store.
Yep.
So there's a new one. It looks neat. Like I said before, the comic book store is just far enough away that I don't feel like driving out there to go get it. But if you're into the comics, there's a new one. And this was a fun one. So, did you watch Tales of the Jedi?
I did, yes.
Okay. Did you notice who the voice of Yaddle was?
Yeah, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Bryce Dallas Howard, yeah. So that was pretty neat that Bryce Dallas Howard, who has directed many episodes of The Mandalorian and other, I think she did a couple of Book of Boba Fett's as well.
I think you're right, yeah.
So they brought her on to be the voice of Yaddle, which was pretty cool. And there was an article where Dave Filoni was like, she's such a pure and honest person. She was the best person that I could think of to be the voice of Yaddle, who was also such a pure and honest and if you watch the episodes, just good all the way to the end, fighting evil all the way to the end. So it was pretty cool. So those are the articles that I found briefly. What were they talking about on In Depth?
So on In Depth, the conversation was around. I don't know where the report came from for sure, but there was a report that came out where basically Disney told Kathleen Kennedy, the head of the Lucasfilm Studios, essentially shut up. They were like, so, and I didn't realize this until I was listening to In Depth. There has not been a live action Star Wars film released since Rise of Skywalker. And I knew that, but didn't put it together.
Okay, right.
There have been some announced that were supposed to have come out.
Yeah, and a lot of them
kind
got...
of like...
Go ahead.
Getting canceled,
Yeah.
or like... Yeah, or stuck, like Taika Waititi's movies that he's supposed to be making haven't even been written yet.
Right.
There was the Rogue Squadron movie that has gotten canceled.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically Disney was like, until you have like stuff on film, stop saying anything.
Okay, I like it. I like it because she's been. I guess has she been saying like we're gonna do all this stuff, but then nothing ever comes of it?
Yeah, because they're
Okay.
making a lot of announcements at like whether it's Star Wars Celebration or
Yeah.
D23 or whatever. They're making these big announcements that's until like this D23 where there really was no Star Wars announcements.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty weak for Star Wars stuff.
And so it was kind of one of those things of like quit giving your fans stuff that isn't going to actually come out. Like let's actually settle on it. Let's only announce the stuff that is
Confirmed.
actually going to come.
I like that because there's like anytime like on any websites it always has unnamed blank Star Wars movie and another unnamed blank Star Wars movie, and it's like you can't just keep saying, oh, this person's going to make a Star Wars movie and then never do it, so I like that. I'm happy that they told her like to come out with something either factual, either truth, like all the way, or don't say anything at all. So that's cool.
Yeah, and it'll be good because I think it's so funny. Everybody complains about, there's so much Star Wars stuff, which really there isn't that much. I mean, there's a lot of shows and stuff.
Right.
Obviously, 2 shows dropped at the same time yesterday.
Yeah.
But from like a movie standpoint, there's really not that much.
No, not at all.
So.
And the Rise of Skywalker was in 2019. And it's now 2022, so it's been 3 years since anything has come out in the movie theater anyway. I do like the TV format that we're getting on Disney Plus because I do like the fact that the shows can give you more detail than you would get in an hour and a half to 2 hour movie.
I agree. I like the format a lot. It's working really well for Andor, which obviously that's the main topic of our episode here. But I also, the other Star Wars news piece that I saw. So I saw 2 other Star Wars news things. One was that Star Wars is being accused, like Lucasfilm is being accused of using online review bots to try and boost some of their reviews.
Oh.
And it's particularly about Tales of the Jedi.
Okay.
Basically they're trying to boost the visibility of it and stuff. And, and so I was reading, there's not a great internet reaction right now. It's not necessarily bad, but it's just kind of middle of the road for Tales of the Jedi. But I think Tales of the Jedi is a really good format to tell some in-between stories. I really enjoyed it. I liked what it was because it kind of told you what was happening with some characters at the same time as things in the movies.
Yeah. There was
like
definitely
I didn't realize Dooku was still in the temple all the way up until
we finally see him as the bad guy.
Yeah. I thought he had gone down the bad guy route a lot earlier. Yeah. So I think the Tales of the Jedi is an interesting format, and I hope that they don't get really bad reviews because I think there's some cool stories they can tell through that too.
Right. And I have I do want to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
We don't need to do a full recap on it because we'll be here for 2.5 hours, and you have a child at home that wants your attention at some point tonight. So I'm not going to keep you forever, but we can run down that Tales of the Jedi real fast. It was 6 episodes, but the episodes were very short, which I don't understand the purpose of. If you're going to release all 6 at once, don't release 6 15-minute episodes, which have 5 minutes of I was going to say ads. 5 minutes of credits at the end of each one, which really makes them like 10 to 12-minute episodes. And opening credits that you can skip over every single time. I was watching that yesterday, and then today, after I rewatched Andor to get my notes, I was watching the Cars road trip, which is also like little shorts just like it. And it was the same thing. It was like so annoying because it's like, it's cute that like when even like SpongeBob, take SpongeBob for example, it's a half-hour show, but they always have like 2 different storylines. They'll have 2, 12-minute stories there, and then when they go to a commercial, they'll come back and it'll be a different episode. I would have preferred that than having to see and fast forward through the opening credits every single 10 minutes, and skipping through the credits every single 10 minutes. Like, I get it, but at the same time, it's super annoying that they're short little clips, that they're shorts.
It would have been kind of cool to like even use the SpongeBob format, right? And that's a pretty common cartoon format, from my childhood as I remember, is like you do one story and then the other, and it would have been kind of cool if they had done that, where it was like, because the two stories you follow are Dooku and Ahsoka. And I think if you did like the Ahsoka story and then the Dooku story, and then kind of just did 3 episodes of that, where you kind of combined them, that would have been really cool. Or you could have just dropped 2 45-minute, short movies or whatever you want to call them.
Right.
And just combined all 3 episodes of each story together.
Yeah. So I was very confused as to why they did it the way they did it. I was also shocked that they released all 6 of them at the same time. And then I was like, is there going to be more to this? But it pretty much like wrapped itself up at the end there, because the 3 about Ahsoka started the first episode. She was a baby, and then she grows into the Ahsoka that we know. She's like training, and they're teaching her how to be a better Jedi, I guess, and be more aggressive or whatever, be a better fighter. And then we have the 3 Dooku stories where we find out why basically he goes to the dark side, and it's very similar in the way of Anakin, where I feel Anakin went to the dark side because he wanted to make things better. So he was tricked into thinking that to make things better, go to the dark side. This is how you make things better, because you'll make people agree with you. And Dooku was kind of the same thing. Like, he was getting tired of like things not working right, so he was like, "This isn't the way it's supposed to be," and whatever. So they were cool. I did like it. It was a slower pace. I was really hoping. I thought for sure there was going to be a whole bunch of Jedi laser tags, lightsaber stuff. I thought there was going to be a lot of lightsaber stuff, a lot of really, really intense lightsaber battles and things like that. And there was enough. I mean, Ahsoka had her lightsaber out a lot, but there wasn't as what I was expecting. But Dave Filoni said that the slower pace of the show is due to the study of the Japanese filmmaker Hayao Miyazaki, and I'm probably saying that wrong. Miyazaki, yeah. So he really loved Hayao Miyazaki's movies, and he wanted to make this style very similar to that. So it is a little bit slower pace, the way those Japanese movies are, Hayao Miyazaki's movies. So that's, if you're expecting a lot of high pace, a lot of dialogue, there's not a lot of dialogue. There's just a lot of like slow action. It was neat. I liked it.
I thought it was really cool. Canonizing Yaddle was cool.
Yeah, we did see Yaddle.
It was weird to see anything but red come out of the curved lightsaber hilt.
Yeah, out of Dooku's lightsaber. And we saw 2 different, like an age jump of who's Obi-Wan's?
Oh, Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon, yeah. So I was confused as to who the first person was, and then when he called him Qui-Gon, I was like, oh, that's a younger Qui-Gon. Okay. And then the next episode, he's back in his normal looking like, I forget who the actor is who played him in the movies, but
Liam Neeson.
Neeson, yeah, but an animated version of Liam Neeson with his voice, which was cool. He did the real voice.
Did he really?
Yeah, it was his voice in that. So it was pretty cool. So it was good. I liked it.
And you got to see. You also got to see what's his name from Rebels. Caleb Doom is who he was known as at the time.
Right.
In the temple, he was watching Ahsoka train.
Freddie Prinze Jr. is the guy, the voice of it. What was his name? Darn it, I'm a horrible Star Wars person. I can't remember that. Anyway,
my wife and I were talking about it last night too, and we couldn't, like, I could say Caleb Doom.
Right.
And
Yes.
I guess that's who he was at that time.
Yeah. So yep. So there we go. Check it out. It's like you said, maybe 45 minutes, so hour and a half tops of all 6 episodes. So you can definitely watch the whole thing pretty quickly.
Yep.
So definitely check that out. And then so I was looking up to try and see, because it's hard to tell with TV shows and movies that are released on streaming services. Kanan Jarrus is Caleb Doom's
There we
real
go,
name.
there
Kanan
we go.
Jarrus. I wanted to know how much viewers and stuff Andor was having. Because I like it, but I can also see people who aren't as invested in Star Wars as we are, the casual Star Wars fan who just wants to see lightsabers, are going to watch this and go, there's no lightsabers in this? Forget about it. I don't want to watch it. So I was definitely interested to see what the viewership was. And in this one article from Inside the Magic,
Oh, goodness.
yes, so I don't know, take it with what it is, but it said, in the latest published study, Nielsen reports, Star Wars series Andor had a fair debut for Disney Plus with 624 million minutes of viewing for its first 3 episodes, which seems like a lot, but it was way below the debut for Obi-Wan Kenobi, which had 1 billion plus minutes of viewing time. So 400 million more minutes of viewing time. So take that for whatever it's worth. It seems like it's down, but it was also said that it was higher than the Book of Boba Fett's 389 million. So it doubled Boba Fett's first 3 episodes, but it was less than Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I think what that comes down to is the casual fan knows Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
You know, the casual fan wants to see Obi-Wan Kenobi. They want to see what he's up to. The casual fan, the person who didn't like Rogue One, isn't going to watch Andor.
Right.
Because if you didn't like Rogue One for what it was, being a grittier, darker movie than any of the other normal Skywalker
Any of those
movies,
Skywalker movies.
yeah, then you're not going to want, you're going to be like, ugh, why are they showing that? I didn't even like Rogue One. That was a dumb movie.
Yeah.
So if you didn't like Rogue One, you're not going to like Andor.
I do think Andor is going to get a lot of non-premiere traffic. So I think there's going to be a lot of going back and watching it. I know, you know, from a few communities I'm in, there's some people who are saying, you know, this is the best Disney Star Wars content
Right.
thus far.
Yep.
You know, this is the best Star Wars content that we've gotten since Disney acquired them. That includes 5 movies. Wow.
Yeah.
A whole lot of cartoons and a whole lot of TV.
Yes.
And I think also it's such a saturated TV market. We've talked about it the last few weeks,
Right.
where, you know, Andor was Wednesday up until 2 weeks ago. Thursday was She-Hulk. Friday was Lord of the Rings. Sunday was House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
It was just like, if you were into the fantasy sci-fi kind of realm, like there was something going on. And so I think, you know, I think Andor is one of those things where, like, you could see it definitely getting that second wave where
Right.
people get talking about it and they go back and watch it.
It kind of like NBC used to have a thing over the summer reruns over the summer. If you didn't watch it the
Exactly.
first time, check it out now. And I think that's what it's going to be. You're going to get a lot of people who now, especially like now, House of the Dragon is done, and like you said, the Lord of the Rings is done and stuff. So now, as the rest of the shows start to wean off a little bit, then people, oh, I forgot all about that. And I have a couple of friends, and because of this, they won't listen to the podcast each weekly. They wind up listening to it much later on. But they're like, I'm not going to watch it until the season's all done, and I'll binge watch the whole thing. And I'm like, okay, I get that, because you're used to Netflix shows where everything comes out at once.
Right.
So, yeah. So hopefully it does, because it is a really good show. Andor.
It truthfully is. Like
Andor-
even not as a Star Wars
yeah.
fan. Like obviously we're Star Wars fans. To put it in the words of Jason, from Ears Up, if they wrote Star Wars on a wall, took a picture of it, and just played it on the screen for 30 minutes, I'd probably tell him to give it a chance. But but I still think that aside, I think it is a really, 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 really good, just a good show.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, before we break that down, let's go to a quick commercial break. Oh, we got to talk about a couple more. Say Disney Plus a couple more times. That way we have a Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
There we go. Now the commercial will be a Disney Plus commercial. All right, check out this commercial. We'll be right back.
Star Wars News.
And we're back.
We are back. Hey, Rob, you forgot to do your own social medias, I think.
Oh, well, then let's do that now. So check us out, Bantha Milk Podcast on Facebook. Twitter is just Bantha Milk. Instagram is Bantha Milk Podcast. We are on TikTok. I think it's Bantha Milk Podcast on TikTok. Hold on. Where'd my phone go? There it is, way down there. Ugh. I have a TikTok account. I've never posted anything. Maybe I'll do that right after the show because I'll wear my Mandalorian helmet. Let's see what my TikTok handle is. That's what the kids say. Oh, now I'm watching some dumb TikTok. Let's see. Profile. Yep, Bantha Milk Podcast on TikTok as well.
There we go.
Check us out on TikTok. Yeah, so there we go. I may be old, but I am hip, kids. I am hip. And here on YouTube, just Google in and type in Bantha Milk Podcast on YouTube, and you'll find us on there as well. So there we go. So we're going to break down all of Episode 8. Narcan, how do you say it? Narcan? Yeah. I keep thinking of Narcan. Narcania? Yeah. I keep thinking like the drug that they have to give you if you overdose. Narcan 5. Narcan 5. All right. So this this episode had 20-something scenes because they just kept clicking back and forth and back and forth and back. 23 scenes because there really was only 4 scenes, but they just kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So it's like, oh, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah, I thought about you while I was watching. I was like, man, poor Rob is going to be over there furiously taking notes.
Yeah,
trying to get all the quick cuts in.
Oh my gosh, it was because and some of them were like 5 seconds. It was like scene 1, Cashin being loaded in a trooper and going to prison. It's like, so I will say this much. I was really hoping that this whole prison thing was a flashback.
I agree.
And I don't think that's what it is. I think this is now. The way that they keep showing it, it keeps appearing that this is now and not a flashback. I thought it would be a really cool twist at the end if it was a flashback, but it doesn't appear to be going in that direction. Because when they start asking him questions about what's going on, now when we get there, we can talk about that a little bit. How it could be deceiving, like it is a flashback still, but we'll see what. Kind of like the Sixth Sense, when you don't realize till the very end that he's dead. So if you didn't see the Sixth Sense, sorry, I just ruined it for you. But at the end, when you finally see all the little things that clue you in that, oh yeah, maybe he is dead. So, but I don't know. I think that my prediction and my hope is going to be foiled on this one. But so the first scene, he's getting loaded into the troop transport to go to prison. And he keeps saying, I'm just a tourist. And they're like, too bad. And so then, like, the first half of it is showing him going to prison and Cyril being in prison. Because he's at his prison job, his job. So then a quick cut to Cyril and his job. And I just love the depth that they show of how big this room is with all of these cubicles, and there's not one sound. Like, at least at a call center or something like that, you hear noise because you're hearing people talking. This is just absolute silence. And it's just like,
It's
And
so miserable.
It's so miserable, and he's so miserable. He's wearing the official uniform now, so he's all in gray, which makes him even more miserable. He's got that stupid tie on with the cardigan, and he's just like, I am so much more than this. This is ridiculous. So I feel bad for him. I want to see where he goes. I hope his whole plot is not for a waste. Like, I hope he just doesn't do one dumb thing at the end, and you're like, that's it. But I know it's going to happen. It's going to be season 2 where we actually find out what he's going to really do.
Doing.
Yeah, and so the whole first season is just going to be him at this jail of a job. And then we get cut back to scene 3, Cassian's being loaded onto the ship, and they're told to remove their shoes at this time. And that's the last time they wear footwear in the entire episode. So then that's it. It's just they get locked into a transport. The handcuff thing was pretty cool. They turned the electromagnets on, and bam, they were locked in there. Then we go to scene 4. Deidre has Cyril, I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah,
Cyril in a holding room, which now, once again, he's in a different prison now. Like, he's in this holding room. Because he has sent too many requests about Andor. I love this guy. Like, I just love his tenacity.
Yep. He knows what he wants to do.
He knows what he wants to do. She's like, you sent 5 messages. He's like, well, 6. She's like, I'm not counting today. But it's just like he's that guy. He's that guy that won't stop. And they're like, look.
And I think this scene right here also explained a little bit of the time jump, because she said you've sent 5 over the last few months.
Yeah.
So it tells us that it's been months since he got that job, which, would lead to it probably had been months that Andor had been on the party planet that he was on.
And it also appears now that, even if Andor wasn't out of credits before, because when he opened up that box, it didn't appear to be very many credits left inside of that hidden box that he had hidden above the shower. But if he ever gets out again, hopefully that box is still above the shower and it wasn't like a hotel room or something like that. But it didn't appear that he had many credits left, and if he did, he doesn't have any credits now because he's in jail. So we do get to see that there was a little bit of a time jump. And he's telling her about Andor. She wants to find out about Andor also, but she apparently doesn't want to find out from him. Like, they're both searching for the same thing, but yet she's like, leave me alone. Stop it. So her hate for Cyril for wasting their time. And the other thing that is funny is that they don't know that Cassian's already in prison. Like, if this prison is taking place now, he's already in jail, and they're trying to find him to put him in jail, but he's already there.
And that's I wonder. This would be a predictable but a big twist. Is if it was all a plot to get Andor into prison under a different name. And that would kind of go with Andor's like hiding in plain sight kind of thing, where like he just kind of walks into the Empire and steals stuff. And so like if he's in jail under a different name, like the ISB is going to have a hard time finding him because they're not going to look in their jails. They're not going to think to look there.
And he's, like you said, he is under a different name, so they're not even going to be like, even if they just ran a check of Cassian Andor, they're not going to find it. No,
they're going to look for Grief Karga.
Grief Karga, yeah.
Keith Garga.
Keith Garga. Very close to Grief Karga. Which is so why? Like, I know they didn't write this the same time they were writing The Mandalorian. So couldn't you come up with a name that didn't sound exactly like another character that you had?
What are you, George R.R. Martin?
I know, with all the names. Did you know that he has George? Speaking of George, because I do the other podcast about the House of the Dragon, he has a whole House Tully, which is all not Star Wars, all Sesame Street names, Muppets names.
Sesame Street.
Yep. Like there's Elmo, there's Kermit, there's Grover, which is pretty funny. Okay, so then Deidre says something to him about well, you signed the form. And he goes, I had no choice. I was forced into. So he had no idea what he signed. That Blevin filled out a report to basically just blow everything over, just like, this is what happened, real general, whatever, boom, boom, boom. So then we had that small confrontation between them. Then we go back to Cash and Landing at the base, and now they're giving a lot of mixed messages here as they're landing. Like you have all the freedom in the world, except you don't. So here we go. And so that was another like real quick scene of him getting onto the base and the ship flying away. And the one person goes, take your last breath of fresh air. It'll be the last one we have for a long time. Then we cut back to another scene, and Deidre is now talking about all the rebel activity to the rest of the ISP people. They're talking about Axis. They named Luthen Axis due to his centrality of rebel activity. So that's
they give the rebels such cool names.
They do. Which reminds me, Ahsoka. Maybe Ahsoka code name. Do you know what her code name was?
I knew you were gonna ask that as soon as you started saying that.
Fulcrum.
Fulcrum. Yep.
Yes. So Nick was saying
Axis and Fulcrum.
Yes. So when they said Axis, I was like, are they talking about Ahsoka? But then I Googled it, and Ahsoka was Fulcrum, and I was like, darn it. Because Nick thinks that we will see a Fulcrum sighting at some point during this season, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So she wants to set up extra supervisions, more spying equipment and things like that, to find Cash and Andor, because she's determined to find him and to find Luthen, Axis as they call him, in this scene.
I think it's interesting how ahead of her time Deidre is.
Yes.
Because at this point, the rebels aren't organized.
No.
There is nothing to say that they're organized. And we see in Rebels, they weren't organized really until kind of the end of Rebels, when they started bringing all the cells together.
Yeah.
It really was a disorganized, but from Deidre's perspective, it's this organized network of rebel, actors. And so I thought that was really interesting that like she's kind of too early a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. She's putting them together faster than they're trying to put themselves together. Which is good. If she can figure that out and stomp it down early, then the Empire will win. But we see where that goes. Then we're back in the prison, and this prison is aesthetically similar to the dystopian future world seen in THX 1138, which was George Lucas's original movie that he made. The 1971 directorial debut of Star Wars creator George Lucas. So this is like an homage to that. So if you ever watched THX 1138, George Lucas's first movie, everything, all the walls are white, the uniforms are white. It's all very, very similar. So they did a great homage to that. And also the coloring of the uniforms, somebody else pointed out that it was very similar. In Rebels, they went to a different prison in Rebels, and there was more orange in the uniforms, but it was the same concept of the white and orange uniforms. So now we see in this scene, it's a little bit longer. Andor's coming off the ship. All the guards are wearing Reebok pump sneakers.
I literally wrote down, those are cool shoes.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, I'll buy a pair of those. They kind of look like snow boots. They would probably be good for Colorado.
Yeah.
They look nice and big. Nice, big, thick rubber treads on the bottom of them. But they were a cool look. I'm sure somebody's going to come out with them soon. Adidas always has a cool like Star Wars collection of sneakers.
I was so sad they sold out of the Rebel Pilot ones. I saw the Rebel Pilot ones get advertised, and I was like, I want to buy those, and they sold out by the time I had clicked on it.
By the time I hate that. They had a neat Boba Fett looking one too. The green ones, they were green Boba Fettish. They were pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
So then I wrote, "Welcome to Narkeen 5." They're treated like cogs in a wheel, not as humans. All the prisoners, the way the prisoners are treated, they're just pieces to make the Empire go round. And they talked about the minimal invasion enforcement techniques, which was shocking you to death if you...
yeah, shocking your feet.
Yeah. So there when he's first getting checked in. Is that this scene or scene 9? Okay, no, that's okay. So this is just welcome, and the guy tells him like, you don't have to follow our rules, but if you don't want to, and then they all that must have been a lot of fun to act that scene as those actors standing there. He's like, I can just see the director behind the camera going, ready? Everybody act shocked. In 3, 2, 1, go! And they're all like, "Ugh." Yeah. So it was good. It was good choreography there. All of them did it. I don't know. Electricity. If you only have 1 foot on the ground, will the electricity still go up and through your heart? Like, doesn't it need to go out somewhere else? So
well, I mean, it would go out through a different part of your foot, right? It doesn't have to. I don't think it has to be like 2 feet. It would just like go from your toe to your heel.
Okay, because I was thinking like I'm trying to figure out how he's going to escape, and I'm like, okay, maybe if he figures out that he only can put 1 foot down and you'll be okay, but it'll still go in and out of the same foot then, so that won't do the thing. But he's going to steal a pair of those Reebok pumps. That's what's going to happen.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah, and I am almost certain there were several things that could be foreshadowing that could be used, and I think they're really smart. I think the folks who are writing this are really smart in that they're dropping really obvious clues to what could be the thing. Like we saw in the attack, we thought the ship wasn't going to be on the rail because they kind of dropped a pretty strong hint towards that.
Yeah.
Or like here in the prison, there have been a few different things, like the power grid takes 10 seconds to reboot, or like these electrified floors are gonna, I have a feeling they're gonna play some part in the escape, but is it gonna be that they throw a guard onto them, or what's that look like?
Yeah, or like the food tube, somehow they spray the floor or something like that with the food tube.
Yeah.
I was even just thinking maybe they throw the mattress down on the ground and then they can like jump on all the mattresses or something. I don't know. There's got to be a way. And then even like in the next scene that they're in, when he's being checked in, there are sneakers in the background on the wall for all the guards. So if he can get to wherever that first check-in room is, where those shoes are, then he'll be able to put on other shoes. So I know that they got to figure out a way to get him a pair of shoes somehow. So that'll be interesting to see how they do that. Or shock the grid so that the electricity goes off. That would be the other option.
And clearly they're understaffed.
Yes. Yeah, we see that in scene 9. Yeah, how they're not sure what's going on. So, all right, we'll go back to we go back to our buddy. He's reading the report, and it's missing a lot of info. And then Deidre says, "Okay, well, what can you tell me about Axis?" And he's like, "He was wearing a coat." She's like, "And I think it was a gray coat, and I think he had like a green shirt on." And she's like, "You're not giving me anything. Like, I need more than this." And she tells him to knock it off. He pleads for one last time, saying how good he was at his job, and he's trying to tell her how useful he can be. And I wrote down, she just thinks he's a nut. She's like, "You're one of those conspiracy theorists. Leave me alone."
Also, I got really strong, like, Dwight from The Office vibes when he was like, "I was a good deputy director." That was very much like assistant to the assistant general manager.
I was the best assistant to the assistant regional manager there was. I am that good. I am that. They're like, that's not even a real job. It was for Michael. It was. He made it for me. Did it come with a pay raise? No. Does it mean anything? No. Yes. No. Yeah. That's a very good Dwight reference right there. That's awesome. But I did notice at the very end, after she like gives him like this, like, just go back. If you call us or make a flag to this one more time, you're not going to be happy. He smirks. Not necessarily at the camera, but as she turns, he gives a little smirk, and the camera picks up on this little smirk. So I'm wondering what that little smirk is. If that's his I've had enough of you guys are idiots. I'm going to figure this out on my own. Or if he's like, you know what, I tried to help you, and now I'm going to the other side. But I don't see him going to the other side.
I don't either. So the one thing I will say, and we'll for sure get this later. Deidre knows what she's doing really, really well.
Yes.
So I wouldn't be surprised if this all was Deidre like kind of egging him on.
Okay.
And like, hey, she knew that by telling him to stop, he wouldn't stop. That would just light the fire under him.
Okay.
And so she's kind of using him to keep doing the search.
I can see that also. I can see that because she's the only one that has a clue what's going on in the rebel world. So I can definitely see her doing that to egg him on. 100%. And now we go back to the scene with the shoes and extra shoes at the door. There's a lot of confusion at the door. He wasn't supposed to be brought here yet. Well, he's here now, but I'm supposed to be coming in from floor 7. Well, you got to take him here first. So you can tell that they're definitely, as you were saying earlier, undermanned. And I think he's watching all that and seeing all that, and I think he's going to be able to use that to his advantage in the future.
Absolutely.
I think he's not letting on too much, but he's definitely not going to be staying in this prison any longer than he has to. He's going to figure out a way to get out. The directions were stop, go. You should be here, not here. Go over here. Step on this. Now stop. And it's constant like mixed messages. Move forwards and stop. Turn here and stop. So the guy who's running the floor, Kino Low.
Oh yeah, Andy Serkis.
Yep, otherwise known as Snoke.
Snoke.
Yep,
yeah.
he was Snoke. Yeah, so it was pretty cool that he was there. So somebody said, "Is he?" Are we going to find out that maybe this guy is force sensitive also, since we're using
This is Snoke.
Yeah, since I just think they just wanted to throw him a bone and be like, look, we used a CGI of your face before, and so now we're going to give you like a real acting role. So it's pretty cool that they had him in there. I wonder what they're building, what those things are.
And I thought maybe they were TIE engines, like that kind of looked like it.
Okay.
That was my best guess, but yeah, I am curious what it is too.
They almost also look like the power things at the top of electricity poles. Like if you look all the way up at the top of the pole, they have this giant the giant ceramic discs. They kind of look like that, so maybe they were like something energy in there as well. I have no idea. Yeah. They could be, who knows, absolutely nothing that is of any use, but they just wanted to show something that they could just keep making over and over again.
Because in this scene we also get to the really strong gamification of this prison, and it gave me kind of Squid Game vibes. Where it was we have you here, and if you do well enough, you get bonuses. If you don't do well enough, you get punished. And putting Andy Serkis in as a manager position, putting a prisoner in charge was it's really interesting. And I'm sure there's probably some psychological studies out there about places they've done this in the real world.
Yep. Also, I just checked the chat, and Doug Black, our resident fact checker, is watching us live right now. He's a little confused as to how fast Nick's beard grew. Doug, that is not Nick. I know you're good friends with him. That is Ryan. But he said people who are good at their job generally don't have to tell people that they're good at their job. So when Cyril's constantly saying, I am really good at my job, and then he also said him going to the Rebels would be the dumbest plot twist of all time. So hopefully that doesn't happen, Doug. I agree with you. It would be pretty stupid for him to go to Rebels. Because he is trying. Doug says, whoa. So hopefully he doesn't go to Rebels, because that would be really, really dumb. But yes. And then, one of the guys in the group, did you notice that the one guy in the group was Melshi?
Yes.
Later, Sergeant Melshi from Rogue One. It was the same guy. And he's the one who told him basically like how things go. And he's like, those numbers there, they'll keep you as long as they want to. They won't keep you for, his number was 2,183 days or something like that. And then when it went 30 shifts ahead, it was 2,153 days. But which will be interesting if, I mean, I'm sure he's not gonna be there for the last 250 days of Kino Lo's sentencing. But if he gets to that last day and the Empire says, "Oh no, we extended your time another 200 days," if that would break him and if he would just go berserk or not.
Yeah.
And that would actually be a good twist. Although 200 days is almost a whole year that he would be in prison, and I can't see Cassian staying in prison for a whole year. That would just be a very long, pointless time jump just to make it a twist on the thing that he would then turn on the Empire. The Kino guy would turn on the Empire because he was all ready to go, and then they go, "Oh no, we added another 1,000 days to your sentence," type of thing. So
After all of their sentences had already doubled, which we'll
yes,
get to in a couple scenes.
yeah, exactly. So now instead of going back and forth to Deidre and Cyril, we now go back and forth now to Mon Mothma's having a party. She has lots of parties. As per usual. She's having another party. So they're drinking drinks that kill animals, which was kind of crazy. They're killing the gummy worms.
In like a champagne looking drink.
Yeah, and it was fun. They drop it in, it goes totally like bubbles up, and I'm like, all right, good thing for those little worms. And it was interesting symbolism as everybody else is starving. They're killing these worms just to put in their drink, and it just shows how the rich don't have any clue how the rest of the world, or the rest of the galaxy in this case, is surviving and doing. They're just doing their thing and just celebrating and having fun. Then we cut away from that, and we're in the hallway for Cassian. And the prisoners are doing sign language to other prisoners on the other floors, which I found very true.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool, the way that they did that, and it was creative. I mean, good on the prisoners for getting that going.
So there's a prison. I think it's just maybe just a jail in one of the cities near me.
Okay.
And it's right near an aquarium, and they have concerts down there. Camden, New Jersey is the city. But on the waterfront, they have it's a big, I can't even think of the words. My mind is going blank. A big arena down there, and there's an aquarium right there and all kinds of stuff like that. But when you're leaving the city, you have to drive past the jail. It's right next to the courthouse. And the one time we were leaving at nighttime, there's a whole bunch of people lining the street, all looking into the small windows in the jail, and they're doing this. They're giving sign language back and forth. They're talking to their friends in the jail via some sort of sign language. Now, I don't know if it's official American sign language or if it's just something that they've created amongst themselves. But this is what I saw in a real prison, walking past a real prison. So I'm sure it's not the only prison that people do that.
Yeah.
So the fact that they did it, it's like, art copying life. So, yeah, the prisoners were given sign language back and forth. What they were telling each other, I don't know. I'm
sure we'll find out.
Yeah. But you could also, I think this was more just to show how deep the prison went, and you could see all the floors below them and the floors above them. And they even said, like, he was on floor 5 of 7, and you could see that the other floors were down below him. So it was a neat scene to show this. Then we're back to the party again, and the people are talking about what is public order, And then they were saying, Pord protects us, but how much is too much? And one person said, is this dangerous times? And it was just interesting how the oblivious of the people living in the skyscrapers who are in this city, the wealthiest are at the top. The mid-range people like Cyril live in the middle, and then the poorest people are down on the ground. They're so high up. Yeah, they're so high up they have no idea what's going on in real life. They don't know what's going on down on the ground. And they're like, are these dangerous times? And it's like it's dangerous to the poor, because they have no clue what's actually going on, because the Empire's not hunting them down; they're hunting down the poor, and the people on the ground.
That reminded me a lot, and I'm sure this experience was different for you, obviously being on the East Coast, but that conversation reminded me a lot of like the political discourse just after 9/11.
Okay.
And like how there was a lot of conversation of like, what do we sacrifice for safety, right?
Yeah.
And that was kind of the whole idea of PORD, which, by the way, I wish it would have been PORG.
I know, Porg. It would have been so much better if it was Porg.
I think that was sort of the same thing of just like, you had some people who were like, these rebels are dangerous, we need to react and react strongly, and some people who are like, yeah, but we're also overreacting and we're actually hurting ourselves by overreacting.
Yeah. And you could tell in the group of 4 people that were talking that 2 of them felt the Empire was doing the right thing and 2 of them felt the Empire was doing the wrong thing. And they weren't on a full-out battle with each other, but they were asking each other, really? Are you sure about that type of thing? Yeah. Then we cut back in the tube of food. I found the tube of food that they were eating. It's just all nutrients. Like, all it is just making sure you have enough calories. There's no taste. He has 2,189 days. That's the exact number. And Doug Black said that the other guy had 249 days left. And then at this time, all the people are asking him about the PORD and that their sentence was doubled because of it. And he had not that he had no clue, but he wasn't letting on that he knew anything. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. But it was also his fault that the PORD went into effect.
Right, because it was a reaction to Aldhani.
It was a reaction to Aldhani. So it was interesting, which is where I think this is the scene that I was like, okay, it's not a flashback, because they're now talking about PORD, which is something that just happened. Now we could find out.
The only way to make it a flashback would be like they were talking about Aldhani not as like an attack that had happened, but as an attack they had heard about getting planned. And that PORD was something they heard about, like, going through the Senate, but it hadn't passed yet or something like that.
Yeah, that would be the only way. But I think, unfortunately, this scene is the scene that ruined my fun of it being a flashback. I thought I was smarter than everybody else. And then the prisoners got twice the amount of time because of the PORD. Then the next scene is the people standing at the window of Mon Mothma's house. And they're talking about how beautiful the view is. And when you're up that high, the view is beautiful, no matter where you are. I remember when we went to Chicago, we were in what was the Sears Tower. I don't know what it's called now, but whatever the old Sears Tower. Willis Tower, yeah. And we stood on the glass box where you're standing out over, and everything looks so peaceful and so quiet. And when you're up that high, like, you don't realize that down on the ground, there's like people honking horns at each other and giving each other the finger as they're trying to cross the street and all that other stuff. But it looks so peaceful from up that high. And, I mean, it was a great view. Don't get me wrong. I would definitely love to live in that house because the view was amazing.
Yeah, and I think the other thing I caught there, and I'd have to go back to confirm this, but I'm pretty sure they only show aliens in one scene per party.
Yes.
And I'm sure that's a budget thing, but like there was a lot of aliens suddenly.
Yeah, yeah, and it was like they do talk about how the Empire is very racist. They only like humans. The Empire is not a fan of any other alien species other than humans, which is why it's so odd that Thrawn was able to move up in the ranks as high as he was,
Right.
because he wasn't a human, but he was able to show his worth to them. But yeah, so even this royalty, there's very few aliens in this royalty of the Senate people and all that stuff.
Yeah. Now I do wish that we could see the ET race, or
Yes.
maybe some Gungans show
Uh
up.
huh. Yep, I agree. That was so much fun when I remember going to the movies and seeing it, and when I saw the movie the second time, like in between seeing it the first time and then the second time, there was news had gotten out that ET was in it. So then we were like, okay, we're just going just to watch for the Senate scene to see where ET is. And when we saw him, we were like, E.T. We like yelled it in the movie theater, E.T. And then we were so happy that we saw it, and we told the rest of the people in the theater about it too. We were the ones in the know type of thing, so it was pretty fun. Then we're back in prison 30 days later. Andor's got it all figured out. He and his team are on the verge of being first. They go through a disinfectant shower. They barely even got wet. Like, that must be some super strong disinfectant, because all those guys, their pits have to stink. They don't show them ever like cleaning other than just this brief disinfectant. Then they get new clothes, and then they're building what looks like the power cores, like I said. And Doug Black just said that makes Earth Star Wars canon.
Oh, if ET, yeah.
Oh,
'Cause
yes.
If ET exists and ET went to Earth, it would make Earth part of Star Wars canon.
Yes, it would.
So that means Bantha Milk is in the Star Wars is in the Star Wars universe.
Yes, we are.
Confirmed.
There we go. We are confirmed. We're canon. Bantha Milk Podcast is canon now.
Somebody go make a Wikipedia. article.
That's right. Uh-oh. I just lost something. You still there?
Yep, I'm still
Okay,
here.
there we go. Okay. That was weird. All right. So then I wrote Sal Pin James. I don't know what that means. I don't know. Scene 16. Then
I think that might have been the name of the person she was talking to.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yep. Then scene 16. Now we're on Ferrix. We're back on Ferrix. We see Cassian's mom's not doing well. She has pains in her knees. We see Bevo or Emo, B, whatever
Bemo.
Bemo.
Yeah.
He has 2 lines in it. And I really like that droid. That droid's a fun droid. I really want to keep seeing him.
I saw somebody released in the because I'm in like the communities for the Disneyland and Disney World droids.
Okay.
Somebody made a 3D printed conversion kit, so you can
cool.
convert a one of the R series droids to be Bemo.
Nice. And
So I might have to.
You might have to start building that. You might have to start printing that out. So we find out that she falls. She wanted to see if the tunnel under the hotel is open, so that the rebels can sneak in and take them by surprise. So she's like, she's getting old, but she still wants to. Now she really wants to fight the Empire, but now she's just so old that people just think that she's just like senile. And the Brasso is like, what about putting her in the nursing home? Yeah, B2 Emo. Doug said Andor's droid that's the call sign, B2 EMO. So they tried putting her in a nursing home, and she said she won't go. No one knows where Cassian is. Bix asks Brasso. He has no clue. Then we see Vale and Cinta are watching him from a little cubbyhole across the way, watching his house, trying to wait for him. Cinta says she's going to get a room here, and Vale says, and what, wait? And Cinta's like, yes. So Cinta is way more dedicated to the rebel, and she even says it like, she basically says, we're just cogs in the wheel here. Like, the rebellion is bigger than any one of us.
Right.
So this whole episode, like, everybody's in some sort of prison. You know, Cashin's literally in prison. Cyril's in his job prison. Deidre's in work prison where she's not getting what she wants. People aren't giving her what she wants, so she's in like a holding cell prison. Cashin's mom is in a prison of her own head where she's just like she's now losing her mind. What's her name? Cinta is in this prison where she knows that she's just a small cog in the whole rebellion as a whole. And then she says, Vale says something to her like, what's your cover story going to be? And she said, maybe I'm a rich girl running away from my family. And Vale says, oh, that's too deep even for you. So now we know that Vale has money from somewhere, but she's not happy about what's going on with the Empire also. So
I kind of took it as Vel was from a rich family, and so it was kind of like she's like, oh, you're using my own story against me.
yeah, exactly. That's the way I took it as well. So, and it was kind of like Cinta's way of being like trying to be a little mean to her, so that when she leaves, she's not like missing her as much, because they are. You know, that you see them holding hands, but we saw that last week also, that they're in some sort of a relationship. So this is kind of like, I'm going to be mean to you so that you leave because you don't really want to be here, and then this way you can go about your life. So
Right.
I'm sure it's not going to be the end of it all, but we'll see that. And then I wrote down here, P.S. I want the hats with the plastic bills. Did you like the whole front half of the hat is plastic and rubber? Like, I want that hat. I'm sure it's not very comfortable, but I do want that hat. So then next scene, Clea is receiving a call. They're in the shop again, and there's more little things that we can see in his museum shop, whatever artifact shop that he has. Which is really neat. I love seeing all the little... like, this whole room would just be an Easter egg episode all to itself. Because there's so many things in here. So she's answering the call because Bix calls for Axis at the end of the last scene. She goes up and she starts calling for Axis. Clea receives the call. He wants to answer it, but she does not. He is afraid now because of Andor knows too much, and since they don't know where Andor is, he's afraid. So he's like, it's Bix. She knows where he is. And then Clea's like, well, if Bix knows where she is, she wouldn't be calling us asking, where's Andor? And she keeps saying to him that he's slipping, and he's like, I'm not slipping. I've just been hiding too long. She says there's a lot to do. Then he says, shut it down. So she says, you have to tell me to shut it down. So then he finally says, all right, shut it down.
I caught that, and I was wondering if there's if they have like a mutual, I guess, like a mutual understanding where they have to command each other.
Yeah.
Or else they won't make a move.
Right, and I think that's probably what it is. Like, they both have to agree on it for them to do something. So that was pretty cool. And then she says there's a lot to do. He says the ISP. She says the ISP is tracking it. Vale is leaving. Then we see Vale leaving by herself to go somewhere else, and Cinta is still sitting there watching. She's even watching at nighttime. Like, she's not going to take her eyes off of the door to that house at all. I hope she finds some time to eat or something like that, because she is determined to make sure she doesn't miss anything. Then the next scene, Axis is flying a ship. He's on the way to somewhere, and he says, take the long route. And we find out that he's going to go see Saul Guerrero, which is very exciting. Then that was like a fast scene. Another quick cut of like the ship talking to him. Okay, I'll go the long way. All right, moving on. And then we're in the prison at nighttime. One of the prisoners steps onto the floor. He commits suicide. He's like, I've had enough of this. And then you can tell how desensitized all these guys have been to it. because they just start, who was it? Who did it? And they're like, it's from table 3. It was that tall guy from table 3. They're like, oh, good. At least it's not somebody from my table where I'm going to get shocked tomorrow because we're a man down. And then the one person says, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, it was crazy how dehumanizing that prison had become.
Yeah. And then it gets even worse when the one guy goes, now we're going to be smelling him all night. Like, they're not even sad for the guy. They're not even whatever. They're just mad that they're going to have to smell his burnt flesh for the whole night now. They're like, thanks. Then we cut to scene 20. Bix has some calf in her hand, and there are troopers in the Pax yard. They took Pax to the hotel because of her transmission. Guards see her and shout out her name, Bix Callan. And then Brasso is standing right next to her, and Brasso's like, run. And I like how he kind of got in the way, but not enough to draw attention to it. But
yeah,
he
just enough to slow him down.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. He was like, am I in your way? I'm sorry, I'll go left. Oh, you're going left? Oh, I'll go right. Oh, you're going right? Like, it was a fun thing. And I was thinking, the first time I saw this town also, it looks a lot to me like Smuggler's Run. Does the or the whole town of Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, Black Spire Outpost.
Black Spire Outpost. It looks very similar to Black Spire Outpost. Like, the architecture's very similar.
Yeah, I can see that.
And you being there more than I've been there, I was only there once, but you being there so many times, I was like, oh. And like, there's one scene where they're running past a bunch of people sitting down at like a little cafe. It reminded me of the shop section in Black Spire Outpost.
Yeah, definitely, like over on that side where it's like the marketplace area.
Yeah. I really would have liked it. I think it would have been really cool if they made it Black Spire Outpost.
They got at some point or another, they have to put that they have to put that in like a video format, whether it's in Andor, he goes there and he gets a drink from Oga's, or I don't know. It has to show up somewhere.
It has to show up somewhere. They've made reference to it, but even if it's just like a quick scene, they need to stop to refuel or anything. Just like go there to meet somebody and then move on. But they have to get there at some point in time. And then this is the like pivotal scene of this episode is when Luthen shows up at Saw Gerrera's place. We do see 2 tubes is standing outside, and an X-Wing is on the ground, standing guard of the caves. But Luthen and Saul are talking. Luthen's trying to find out what he knows, and he's trying to find out what Luthen knows. They're both accusing each other of pulling off the heist. He says, would I be here in the cold if I had 100 million credits? And he says, that's exactly what you would say. Doug says they'll use the outpost and Yoda will come out to sell merchandise. He would. So he's like, that's exactly what you would say. He goes, yeah, that's what you would say to me if you were the one that stole 100 million credits. But then they go, well, we can both just agree that it was a masterpiece. And then Luthen says that not every operation is as flush as yours. And he says, Anto Krea, I want you to meet him. And he says he's been probing the Imperial power station at Spellhouse. He found a weakness in the defense. And then Sal says, the man is an ox, slow and stupid. And then Sal doesn't want to put his people at risk working with another small group of rebels, which is where, like you were saying earlier, we're still in this time when it's a whole bunch of just individual cells. And Sal mentions all of them in this whole next dialogue here. So I'll read the whole thing. He says, Luthen wants them to work together. Luthen needs to keep hitting the Empire for the people to see that they are bad. So Luthen's idea is we have to keep attacking the Empire so that the Empire makes tougher and tougher rules on the people. So that way the people that the Empire is protecting, in quotes, for those of you listening in your car, get more and more mad, and then more of them want to rebel and stand up and fight against the Empire. So
yeah, Luthen is trying to prod the Empire into overreacting. That's his whole idea, and I think Saw is more like, no, let's just straight up attack them. Like,
yeah,
no more of this silly like political game. Like,
Yeah,
no,
this-
let's just take them down.
let's just take them down. Let's just fight them. Let's just go after them. And Luthen is trying to get to be more strategic about it. Also, Doug Black quoted Spaceballs, but he said, "Star Wars the lunchbox, Star Wars the toilet paper, Star Wars the flamethrower."
Super far off aside. I play the Saints Row video games, and they
Okay.
just released a new one a couple months ago. It started off as a knockoff of Grand Theft Auto, and then it became a parody of Grand Theft Auto. So
Okay.
it's kind of a fun game, but there's like a desert area in the map, and I was flying around by the desert area today, and I spotted this big black thing like off in the distance in the desert, so I flew over to it. It was a giant comb, and they had put blow up dolls that were dressed up like the troopers from
Spaceballs?
Spaceballs on
That's
either
funny.
side of the. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's an awesome reference.
That's an awesome reference. I love that. We're combing the desert. Have you found anything? Nope. And then the last, we ain't found crap.
Yeah,
That was so funny. That movie was a great movie. That was so good. I really wish he would make a sequel.
absolutely.
But it was so awesome. All right, back to the comb in the desert.
Yeah.
He
So
says Saul starts listing all the groups. He says Cregan is a separatist, Maiape's a neo-republican, the Gamorrean Front, the Partisan Alliance, sectorists, human cultists, galaxy partitionists. They're lost. What are you, Luthen? And Luthen says, I've never really known. Or he says, I've never really known what you are, Luthen. And then Luthen answers, I'm a coward. I'm a man who's terrified the Empire's power will grow beyond the point where we can do anything to stop it. I'm the one who says we'll do with nothing if we don't put aside our petty differences. So this whole dialogue, this monologue, was amazing, and Forrest Whitaker was so good in it.
Yes.
And it was fun seeing and just the evolution of Sal Guerrera from when we saw him in Clone Wars to now, and then we see him later on in Rogue One when he has the breathing apparatus, because he's such a hardcore fighter that he keeps getting into battles and keep getting injured and all that stuff. So you see the demise of Sal Guerrera, but his whole fact that
I'm genuinely curious if we have seen any character in as many different types of media as we have seen Saw Gerrera.
yeah,
Because we saw him, now we've seen him in a live action show, action movie,
yep,
cartoon show.
Yep, 2 different cartoons because he was in Rebels and Clone Wars.
Exactly. And then also he was in Star Wars The Force Awakens, the video game.
Okay, and I'm sure he's been in comic books as well.
Oh, yeah.
And probably, I think it's like probably him and C-3PO that we've seen the most of.
Yeah, exactly.
So we get this, and then, Sal Guerrero says he's the only one with clarity of purpose, and then late Vader isn't as much. Doug says
That's
yes,
true.
Vader isn't as much.
Yeah. And actually, he's in all those same things that Saw's in.
Yeah. So then Luthen basically, he offended him, and he said, "No sale today. Good luck with Cregan." And he basically like shuns him away and says, "Go away, Luthen." But we're gonna see him back again because he is such a vital part of the beginning of the rebellion, even though he is an extremist. But even when we see him in Rogue One, he's even more of an extremist at that point in time. But I'm sure we'll see him again. And then scene 22, Bix is in handcuffs being taken to the hotel where Deidre is. We didn't know that Deidre was going to be there until we get into the hotel and Deidre's there. Pax is in there beaten and tortured. Then they put her in the same seat. This was a fun scene because the one Imperial soldiers, like, should I take him out? And Deidre's like, no. And then when when Bix comes in, she's like, why is he still here? Get him out of here. And the guard is like, what the? You just told, like, what's going on? But, like, it was a very good tactic on her behalf to make it like, oh, you weren't supposed to see him type of a thing.
Yeah.
And she didn't have enough
the
time.
Man behind the curtain.
Or, yes, exactly. So then they put her in the same seat, and we're like, uh-oh, what's going to happen? And then we go back, and we just see Cashin working away in the prison work again, and he has no clue this whole time that everything else around him is falling apart because he's just stuck in this jail. It would have been neat if we would have saw, even just as he was, like, leaving his jail cell, like, how many days had gone by now. Like, if we saw his little number was lower, even if it was only 20 days or whatever it was, so that we could see what the timeline was until when Bix got caught and all that stuff. I'm sure it wasn't that many more days, but yeah. So then we just see it at the end where he's just back in jail again, and that's how the episode ended. And it was an amazing episode. It was I was gonna say a lot of fun. It was a very deep episode because everybody's in their own prison of some sort.
Yeah. Everybody's locked away in some way. I also think this episode solidified the idea that Deidre could hang out with Thrawn really easily.
Yes, I agree 100% with that. I think she and Thrawn would get along very nicely because they're both way overthinking everything to the point that you're almost rooting for them.
Yeah. So it was a good episode. I think this is what we're in for probably for a while, right? Like I could imagine, and I'll put my guess out there, right? I'll put my bet out there. The season finale or the episode before the finale, one of the two, is going to be the prison break. It's going to be Cashin breaking out of prison.
Okay.
I think that's our action piece. That's our action set piece to finish this season before we jump into the off time until next season.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think, like, where is the story going? Like, we know where it goes with Rogue One, but where is it going this season at this point? Everybody wants to find Cashin. He's going to break out again. Is he going to join the rebellion again? Like, will Luthen find him before the Empire finds him? Will he go back home again?
Yeah, and that's kind of why I wonder if, like, he was put in jail on purpose by the rebels, right? Whether he knows it or not, maybe it was just Luthen putting him in jail, right?
Right.
Maybe Luthen tipped off the guard or whatever and put him in jail. But I think his time in jail is going to push him towards the rebellion, and maybe it's the cheesy way that I would hate them to do it is Marva dying and him going, oh, I gotta do it for my mom.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think moreover, it's I think it is, and Doug said it in the chat. This is Andor getting pulled into the rebels, and I think season 1 maybe is him declaring, I'm a rebel now, right?
Right.
Maybe a super cheesy line, but yeah. I'm a rebel now.
I am a rebel. I declare myself a rebel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's probably, I agree, that's where we're going to finish this season up with him. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with Mon Mothma's character, if she gets completely, like, kicked out of Coruscant or anything like that, or if she keeps working in the background. Maybe the end of season 2. Did we see Mon Mothma in Rogue One?
Yes.
Okay. She was already, like, a part of leading the Rebel Alliance at that point in time, right? She was already, like, a big factor in it. So,
yeah, I believe so. I might be wrong, but I thought the actress.
Yeah, because I think the actress was in it. So yeah, so So at the end, sometime between that'll probably be like season 2, where she gets, where she leaves Coruscant altogether and becomes a vital part of the rebellion, and they start buying ships and stuff like that. So I can see this season ending with him declaring that he's a rebel. I declare bankruptcy. Michael, you don't have to. You can't just declare bankruptcy. You have to fill out all these forms also. So I declare it. So yeah. So all right. I agree with you. Let's see. That was episode 8. We have 12. So we have a couple weeks to go. Maybe we'll see Nick before the end of the season. I think that's what we'll declare. That at the episode 12 will be the return of Nick. That's
there you go.
That's my prediction. But until then, you're doing a great job of filling in, and thanks Doug in the chat for joining along with us. I think as long as it's Ryan and I, it'll be 9:00 every Thursday for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, sorry to move you late. I know it's late out there where you're at.
It's okay. It's only 10:44. It's not too bad. I would be playing Minecraft at this point in time anyway, so at least I'm doing something more productive than just building stuff in Minecraft. Andor, he says Andor and Nick's Prison Break, episode 12. Pretty much that's it, Doug.
Everybody was in a prison this week, even Nick.
Even Nick. He was in prison by little Vandy. His little baby girl is putting him in prison. So, all right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up our show for tonight. It was a good episode. I really like where this is going. I'm excited for it. And until next Thursday, I think that's pretty much it. We have spoken.